the last thing? And let someone know, and I will start sharing my screen again. I don't see in my screen. I have to um, escape that. And I'm so glad that I mentioned to you how sometimes my, okay, thank you, Janae, for anger comes from the heart, fear and discomfort. I need to uh, see if I can share my screen. Mary Grace, we are in the middle of a technical difficulty where I am trying to continue after being bumped out of, I'm glad the rest of you weren't bumped out. Huh.
You could blame it on me if you decide to get angry.
So why is it that I can't pull up my
Renee says,
screen?
"Isn't technology wonderful?"
You know, it's funny because anger particularly can affect technology. At least mine has. So let's see if I can go back to the share screen. There we go. All right. Well, I don't really know. We're in this interlude. Okay. Someone tell me, did you hear me talk about this emotional reset?
No,
I did not. You didn't hear that?
no.
Okay.
You were on this slide.
Okay, we did with that, right?
Hmm.
And then the next emotional
We're
reset.
we're
Yeah.
on that. We're on that.
Okay. So I'm sorry.
Oh, you actually said this.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Finally, when you don't have your anger, it can manifest as depression because, as I remember, I was saying that the energy to push down anger requires emotional energy, life energy. So that is removing energy you could have for life. Also, when you push anger down, you push down all emotions from the heart, joy, spontaneity, creativity, and so forth. So you lose more than anger, you lose other emotions as well. Second, when you don't express you anger, you hold it in your body and um you have armor, which is experienced as weight, tension, and heaviness. When you don't have your anger, the energy of anger may not show up as being angry with the world or angry with other people, but the energy turns to you. So you begin to blame yourself and to criticize yourself. So, do you get the picture? When you don't have your anger, there is so much that happens that you may not be aware of. So you're a notice. This is what happens when you don't deal therapeutically and um, Don't embrace your anger. So this is addition is from Doug. You know, when you don't have active signs of anger, you might think, I'm just not an angry person. But are you disappointed? Do you feel frustration, irritated, annoyed, envy, jealous, impatient, sometimes sarcastic, cynic, defensive? Passive aggressive is something is unconscious, but this is what happens. Do you feel your jaw clenching or tightness in your shoulder, neck, or going silent, being critical, feeling numb, snapping? These are all of many subtle signs of anger. So hopefully, if you don't actively see the anger that you quickly identify, this list will help you identify how you are expressing your anger and will help you do the same things that what I recommend in terms of anger. Got it? Take a screenshot if you need to. Next slide. Next piece of self-reflection. Take a recent situation when you were angry, disappointed, frustrated, annoyed. Go to your heart and see what you needed instead with the view that this was a no from your heart. Listen and see what your heart needed instead. And since I had lost time dealing with technical difficulties, I'll give you a minute. So turn to your pen, notepad, and reflect on a recent incident. Go to your heart and ask what was needed instead. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is an exercise that I encourage you to do because it's an important change from how you would normally treat anger. So, would you share in the chat what you learned? What message did you learn by going to your heart? Please share. And Doug, you'll let me know what people are saying.
Yes. Kristen says she needed recognition or consideration instead.
Good. Thank you.
Shashi said, oh, they're needed to be heard. I'm just going to say what the messages were. I needed confidence and respect, not only for me, but for theirs. I don't know exactly what that means. I needed care and compassion, empathy and acknowledgement. I wanted attention and to feel like I was heard. I needed more kindness from my partner. I was more disappointed than angry. I needed to be told the truth. I needed rest. Uh, just needed the person to listen to me and support me, not blame or solve the problem.
We did
Simply
that one.
go, be still, breathe, give it all to God. Number of potent messages.
Excellent. Thank you for participating in this exercise. You will learn in section 2 that a lot of what was described is what you needed early in childhood and did not receive. Simply, you weren't seen, you weren't understood, didn't feel any respect for your needs, needed to feel that was someone there, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Now, to review, the triggers of the inner child are intense reactions or chronic presence of these feelings, anger, fear, or sadness. By the way, someone they said they didn't feel anger, they were just disappointed. Sorry, disappointment is anger. Okay, these are the generic feelings. And they're important to recognize because this is an introduction, in my way, of your inner child. When you feel these things, it's your inner child showing up. Now, from where do the fear, anger, and sadness come from? It comes from childhood wounds that hurt you. And what resulted? Beliefs and impression about yourself and about the world were created. Also, patterns or strategies on how to survive and to get what wasn't provided in childhood. So we're going to look at beliefs and impression about self and the world. And then we're going to look at patterns or strategies that you currently have that are what script your adult life. So these are important because where you are now, we're all created from your first hurts. Okay, this is kind of a review. To say that anger rises out of pain, and from a bigger point of view, the anger of the parent, it comes out of their pain. And for those who are sensitive and empathic, you do not only feel the anger and absorb the anger, you also feel and absorb their pain and your parents' pain all through the generations. So we don't escape the legacy of our parents in terms of what happens when they're angry and what happens to you when you experience that anger. As I said before, anger is very powerful. Whether it's buried, expressed, it's powerful. And when it's buried, you know that what comes is blame, self-blame, depression when anger is not released and expressed. All right, now we turn to the beliefs that you created in childhood. Here are some of the beliefs that come up in childhood that I would again ask you to participate. Do you have in the background of looking at your life the belief, I'm not good enough? Say yes in the chat if you can acknowledge feeling, I'm not good enough. I'm getting yes.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yes. How about this one? Do you feel that you're alone? I am alone. Even when among people, I feel alone. I don't feel connected. I feel there's only me here.
Again, a lot of yeses in.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yes, that you acknowledge this, and not so beautiful that that was your experience. How about this one? It's all my fault. And you can see this as whenever something happens in your adult world, there's a sense is I'm responsible. It's my fault that this is happening, whether it's at work or in a relationship with your family. Do you sense that that's your response? It's all my fault. Are we getting yeses?
Not as many as the others.
That's okay. Another one. I am unlovable. So this becomes more particular than rather than I'm not good enough.
Yeah, this one really gets a lot of yeses.
Wonderful to for you to admit and acknowledge that. Finally, I am not safe. It,
Again, that's attracting a lot of yeses.
good for responding. Thank you. And here are some things I did not include in the chat in my presentation. When you come into the world and you're hurt, you're not experiencing love, affirmation, being seen, and all of this. So your experience of the world is that the world doesn't have enough love. It doesn't have enough safety. It doesn't have enough support. In other words, a scarcity of what do we consider abundance of love, joy, and all of that. So the impression that you get, the belief you have, is that love is scarce, abundance is scarce. And unless you treat the source of that, you live from the place of scarcity. It's hard to find the love I need. Abundance. It's hard to find the abundance that some people seem to enjoy. So there is so much in the belief about how you see the world. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Next, we move into the strategies and patterns which were adopted, which, unless acknowledged, treated, and resolved, create the scripts that run your adult life. Now, I'm going through a few of these patterns and say yes to the chat if you can see that you're a people pleaser, meaning you don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. You're polite, you're nice, so you do what you could do to make sure that someone is pleased. For example, you agree to do extra work or say yes to favors even when you're exhausted or resentful. My daughter just called me yesterday and said, I've been invited to do this, but I really want to have an excuse to say no. Because when you're a people pleaser, the drawback is you don't know your own needs. It learns to burn out because you're constantly giving. You get resentful and you feel like you must be invisible. How many of you can admit to seeing aspects of being a people pleaser?
There are a number, and there are a few people who have surmounted that tendency.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Say yes in the chat if you see yourself as a perfectionist. For example, you spend hours editing something because you fear making mistakes. Fear of making mistakes is a huge aspect of being a perfectionist. A perfectionist always feels there's more to do. There's more to achieve. It's constantly doing. The drawback is you live under this constant pressure to be flawless. So spontaneity, joy, and rest, a sacrifice to this perfectionism. Who admits to seeing some of their perfectionist tendencies? Are we getting S's?
Yes, we are. A few people have overcome that, but Kristen says something interesting. There is more now a fear of starting something new unless it's perfect.
It still remains. That's an aspect of perfectionists for sure. Procrastination, the fear of not entering something and knowing you can do it perfectly. So you don't. So thank you for admitting that. You're seeing more of your perfectionist tendencies. Moving on, the overachiever. You measure your worth by being productive and all the awards and accomplishment. And when you achieve one level, you move on. The drawback is success never feels enough. You are chasing external validation, feeling empty even after big wins. How many can admit to being an overachiever? Being an overachiever also applies to personal development. I'm not, I haven't achieved enough in terms of becoming better, becoming more mature, becoming more enlightened. I have to keep going. Another aspect of an overachiever. Any yeses, Doug?
Yes.
Thank you. 4, the caretaker. You are the fixer of everyone's problems in your family, at work, among friends, believing at some subconscious level that their happiness depends on what you can do. And the drawback, you overextend yourself and you attract one-sided relationships, and your own needs go unmet, breeding resentment and fatigue. Not to mention that you give the person you're trying to fix the picture that something's wrong with them. They need to be fixed. This affects both of you. How many know the caretaking role?
Renee became a nurse.
Yes, teachers, counselors, coaches,
Doctors.
nurses,
Doctors.
doctors, all are caretakers subconsciously. So that's a good one.
Jackie's also a nurse. I'm a doctor, so I can relate.
All right. Finally, the lone warrior, super self-reliant. You rarely ask for help, believing you must handle everything alone. So you become super independent, never asking for help. You miss out on the opportunities for support and deeper intimacy because the lone warrior felt betrayed, felt that parents weren't there. I am alone and I can only rely on myself because I'm the only one there. So, how many of you can identify going alone? If he's saying, I can figure this out, I can learn enough from this, and I can do it. Any yeses?
Yes.
Thank you. So, Let's move to what I say next. Say yes in the chat if you want to change how you deal with anger, fears, or sadness.
There's a number of yeses.
Thank you. Say yes in the chat if you want to release the limiting beliefs of yourself and the world that I hopefully articulated so you got a sense of how they limit you.
Again, a number of yeses, Ann.
Thank you. Finally, say yes in the chat if you see the price of the survival strategies, some of which are articulated, and want to release these so they don't define how you operate in your everyday world every day. Say yes in the chat.
Again, a lot of yeses, Ann.
Perfect. Thank you. This sets us up for section 3. How do you heal your inner child for having confidence, clarity, truth, and wholeness? Briefly, I want to talk about conscious and less conscious ways that we can do this. So many people have used therapy, and for the most, therapy is a conscious exchange of your talking to your therapist and talking about your life in the way you see it and so forth. Rarely are you invited to see what is behind the struggles that you have. Another is you're taught you need to have affirmations. You need affirmation plastered everywhere to remind you of what and how you need to see yourself and the world. Be positive. You can do it, etc. And you're to keep this up for at least 6 weeks, trying to get what is conscious into the subconscious. Or you can entertain mindset changes that coaches encourage. Turn from a negative mindset to a positive thinking, positive attitudes, and so forth. And if this operates on a conscious level, it can only go so far. So, whatever you have tried probably did not enter your subconscious to make the changes because you're here listening to what I have to say. And I believe from all the work I have done and I've done with others that only connecting with your subconscious to do the work with the inner child can be effective. I don't know whether I have time to do an inner child process, which I have in my book. But if I do, if there is time at the end, I will do this. But more importantly, I need to talk to you about the power of the subconscious. As you see from this illustration of the iceberg, the conscious mind takes only 5% of what influences in what you hear, what you feel, what you experience every minute, every second, every day. 95% comes from your subconscious mind. Happily, the subconscious mind has all the automatic systems that we need to keep our life going, our heart beating, our breathing, our digestive system, our nervous system. Wonderful. But in our subconscious mind, and I don't know whether I have a list of this, Okay, no, it's not. In our subconscious mind are our traumas, core beliefs, our self-beliefs, our patterns. And that is why all the conscious efforts we made to try to change not good enough to good enough, to from um, people pleaser, and those who have managed to change that, search to see how some subconscious process may have been involved in how you handled it so that you actually made changes. For me, the way to make the deep changes are to treat the wounds from which the beliefs and the patterns emerge, how to heal the pain and everything accompanying it that live in your subconscious that created trauma parts that hold all this. We use the subconscious mind in the map system, make anything possible to treat the wounds, the pain, and all the limitations that are there in your subconscious. We have direct access to your subconscious mind so that my everyday changes the more I treat what I find that has eluded me, so that what appears in the next minute, next hour in the day will be different from before I treated, because I can use the superconscious, the trained subconscious to do the healing. I took a quick testimonial from someone years ago who said something like this: I feel so much better from 90 minutes yesterday than I have with years of therapy and deep personal work. I'm still in shock how quickly it works and how profound the change is. So I thank you, EJ, for that testimonial, which is one of many that I have received around this. I want to describe Sally's story, a professional who came to me exhausted, overwhelmed, because in her life she was following the script of being responsible at work, at in her family. You can tell how overwhelming and is exhausting that is. So in the middle of treatment, she fell into bed sick with pneumonia. And do you know, in the middle of this, she got out of her bed to show up as an executive producer on a documentary that she was involved in. And she did that, sick as she was. That's how deep her patterns were. But sometime after that, with the work we did, she realized that she needed self-compassion. She needed attention to herself, to be compassionate and care about herself. Now she's changed the work that she does, and she does the work that makes her heart sing. I love seeing her on Instagram with some of her reels and her posts. So that is the possibility of doing work with your subconscious. I had to include one wisdom quote. Your task is not to seek for love, which is how the inner child is set up. Find the ways you think you can get love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. So the barriers, from my point of view, are your self-beliefs, beliefs about the world, beliefs about um, how you can gain the love and protection and safety, the patterns that you've used. These are all the ways that lie in the way of finding love. So,
And somebody has a question about,
perfect.
are you going to go into the map process?
Well, thank you. The MAT process is you're viewing an 18-minute video that introduces how all trauma parts show up and what their role is in terms of conscious and conscious material. After you view this video and schedule a session with me, I spend 10 to 12 minutes training your subconscious to become super conscious, ready to treat the pain and the wounds that are there to be treated. So, in the first session, we talk about what is important, what stands in your way, what bothers you most. And after I have enough material, I begin to ask superconscious to treat all the trauma parts that are related to what you describe. And we keep doing this until we've exhausted the time and I've treated as many trauma parts as possible. In this process, I ask you to listen to what intuition tells you. In the process of treating, what comes up for you in your body, in your thoughts, in your emotions, in your memories, so we can include those in the next treatment. So it's a cooperative venture. So I hope that describes enough of what MAP is.
Would there be any value in viewing that video?
Without, yes, you can email me and ask for that video, and I will send it to you to see whether when watching it, some part of you says, yes, I'm ready to work with my subconscious. So yes, there's value watching that. So let me know. So at almost the close of the 75 minutes of time that I thought I would have with you, I want to talk about how this process of healing your heart will return you to the innocent self you first were, the spirit you were before you met human life and the chaos and pain and fear in human life, and who you were before experience humanity. Your essence was love because you came from love. You came with a purpose for being here. And with healing your heart, you can live from an undefended heart and not from your wounds. So, right now, please share in the chat any insights, any aha, any fresh perspective, any expanded view of your possibilities. So if you will allow me a bit more time, say 20 minutes after the hour, in exchange for that gap of Zoom kicking me off, thank you. So if there is anything anyone is sharing, Doug, would you share that with me?
Okay. A Zoom user who I do not know who that is said, I thought that experiencing the pain and anger and emotional suffering, etc., is our soul's purpose.
And I would add to that, there is a purpose in the pain and the emotions, from my point of view, so you can return to your heart to clear your heart's defendedness, to get to an undefended place, to learn and connect your to your heart's wisdom. Your
Yeah,
there.
it's about soul evolution.
Yes, thank you. Good. Anything else?
Janae says good things are possible, and I just lost that. Even for me.
All of you, especially for you.
Uh, we have some thank yous. TP says we live in a hyper-competitive dog-eat-dog world. How does one manage their anger while trying to survive in this environment?
The way to survive in the external world is to right things, resolve things in your inner world. Because amidst this competitiveness, the fears and anger in the world, if you come from a place of peace, come from a place of knowing who you are, what your purpose is, with the clarity to see that all of that outside stuff, when you deal with your inside stuff, doesn't disturb you. You don't get engaged in the competition. You don't get wrapped up in the fears, the wars, the poverty, and all that that's in the waves. But you can look at it, oh, this is what's happening out there. And I will follow my purpose and my wisdom in terms of how I act, but not in response to all of that from a wounded place. That's the best I can do right now.
Sarah says, certainly see that many of us are burdened with some early childhood bad experiences. I lost it. This chat is not always easy to manage.
For reader and participant. So I have to catch the rest of it afterwards. Huh.
But understanding we can move on from this is encouraging, and joy can again be found again. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And more appreciation is being shared with you.
Thank
Luis
you.
Luis says meditation helps. Kristen says I like the term undefended heart. Well,
Yes, I do too. So now, having gone over the time that I said I wanted, a Lao Tzu quote: "At the center of your being, you have the answer. You know who you are and you know what you want. The question is, how often do you get to the center of your being? So you are with your answer and you know who you are and you know what you want." So I have this link, which hopefully Doug can put in the chat or I can, to encourage you. If particularly you want to view the video, you can set up a time with me, unless you request it otherwise, where we can talk about the video. We can talk about any questions you have. we can talk about what light has been shed in your inner world in this time together, and how I might help you into in what I do. I have services, one-to-one sessions. I also have courses where you gather with a group of 5 or 6 individuals where you journey together to have an emotional reset, to build your awareness, to look at and find all the ways you can identify the inner child in you and bring it to superconscious to do group healing and one-on-one healing. This is all what I we can talk about, how much it costs and all of this. So you are encouraged. And for those who don't want to spend any more time with me, I am going to stop the recording. I'm going to stop it by stopping the screen share and stop the recording.